Hello everyone. The title of our paper is Tracking Tiny Drones Against Clutter, Large-Scale Infrared Benchmark with Motion-Centric Adaptive Algorithm. Next, I will introduce the work of this paper from two main aspects. First, in terms of the dataset, existing UAV tracking datasets generally have characteristics such as large target sizes and simple backgrounds. For example, in the anti-UAV 410 dataset, the target contours are clear and the positions are easy to identify. Even when there are buildings or other background elements, the target's outline remains very prominent, and the target occupies a relatively large portion of the image. In contrast, our proposed TDTIV dataset features much smaller target sizes and more complex backgrounds. To intuitively compare the size distribution characteristics of the TDTIV dataset with those of public datasets, we conducted an analysis using probability density histograms and kernel density estimation curves. In these plots, the horizontal axis represents the ratio of the target bounding box area to the image area, and the vertical axis represents the probability density. The TDTIV dataset, shown by the red curve, exhibits a lower peak ratio, indicating that the UAV targets are smaller in size and more concentrated in distribution. In contrast, the anti-UAV 410 dataset, shown by the green curve, shows a broader distribution range, containing more large-sized UAV instances. Furthermore, the analysis of the spatial distribution characteristics of targets in the TDTIV dataset, where the horizontal and vertical coordinates represent the target's position within the image, reveals that the targets are more spatially dispersed. This property provides valuable data support for modeling omnidirectional motion scenarios. In terms of the model algorithm, since UAV targets usually occupy very few pixels and have low contrast in texture and brightness against complex backgrounds, algorithms that rely solely on spatial features are prone to mistracking in low-contrast scenarios. For example, in frame 131, the target has a high contrast with the background, allowing spatial features to support accurate tracking. However, in frame 176, the target almost blends into the background, and the algorithm may misidentify background elements, such as building lights, as the target. Moreover, in long-term tracking scenarios, the appearance of a UAV can change significantly due to variations in motion posture, scale transformations, partial occlusions, and illumination fluctuations. A single static initial template is insufficient to adapt to these dynamic changes, leading to a decline in tracking stability and robustness. To address these two major challenges, we propose a motion-centered adaptive tracking algorithm named MCATrack. MCAtrack first extracts motion information through the MagnoMotion module and concatenates it with the original image along the channel dimension to form the network input. The model processes 3 frames at a time: the initial frame, the dynamic reference frame, D, and the current search frame, T. These 3 frames are simultaneously fed into backbone networks with shared weights to extract feature maps. Next, ROI align is applied to both the initial frame and the dynamic reference frame to extract their ROI features. The ROI features from these 2 frames are then fused through a cross-attention mechanism and added to the ROI feature of the initial frame, producing an enhanced reference target feature that helps the model adapt to appearance variations of the UAV. After that, a cross-correlation operation is performed between the enhanced reference feature and the search frame feature to generate a correlation-encoded representation, which is passed into the RPN module to produce candidate proposals for the target. Finally, the enhanced reference feature and each proposal feature are modulated using the Hadamard product, and the modulation results are used for classification and bounding box regression. The proposal with the highest confidence score is then selected as the tracking result for the current frame. Next, let me give a detailed introduction to the Motion Information Extraction module. The MagnoMotion module is inspired by the dynamic visual processing mechanism of the magnocellular pathway in the mammalian retina. It processes the input image through 4 stages. First, it simulates photoreceptor cells to perform nonlinear intensity normalization, enhancing the contrast in dark regions. Second, horizontal cells apply Gaussian filtering, also known as lateral inhibition, in both spatial and temporal domains to suppress low-frequency background noise, while bipolar cells use a center-surround operator to sharpen the edges of moving targets. Third, at the amacrine cell stage, a recursive operation with a temporal decay factor is used to separate spatiotemporal variation signals into ON and OFF channels, effectively suppressing static backgrounds and highlighting moving targets. Finally, ganglion cells apply spatial low-pass filtering to remove high-frequency noise, and a contrast stretching algorithm is used to amplify the differences between moving targets and cluttered backgrounds, providing a clear motion signal for the final tracking stage. Next, we use 3 commonly adopted evaluation metrics, precision plot, success plot, and state accuracy (SA), to assess the performance of all trackers. Compared with the current state-of-the-art UAV tracking method SIMDT, our approach achieves significant improvements across all 3 metrics. To verify the generalization ability of our model, we conducted generalization experiments on the anti-UAV 410 dataset. The results show that our method also achieved the best performance. To fully verify the effectiveness of the proposed motion information module in enhancing target, background contrast, and suppressing background noise, we present the original image, the extracted motion information, and the fused image sequentially in the figure. The visualization results demonstrate that our method can accurately extract motion information of small targets in complex backgrounds and significantly improve the contrast between the target and the background. To verify the stability of our method in long-term tracking scenarios, we designed a time series average error comparison experiment to address the potential issue of error accumulation caused by the dynamic template update mechanism. The Stark algorithm, which is also based on template updating, was selected as a baseline for comparison. Using the video frame index as the horizontal axis and the positional deviation between the predicted bounding box and the ground truth as the vertical axis, we quantitatively analyzed the tracking drift phenomenon. The results show that the Stark algorithm exhibits low error in the early stage, but the error gradually increases over time, indicating cumulative errors and tracking drift, which reduce reliability in long-term tasks. In contrast, our method maintains a stable error range throughout the sequence, without any significant drift trend. This demonstrates that our approach possesses stronger robustness in long-term tracking scenarios. To evaluate the generalization capability of our method in complex scenarios, we conducted experiments on the anti-UAV 410 dataset using precision and success plots as evaluation metrics across 6 attribute-based scenes. The results show that our method performs excellently under all attributes. In particular, in target occlusion scenarios, the biologically inspired motion feature enhancement mechanism effectively increases the contrast difference between the target and the background, significantly improving the robustness of target tracking. To evaluate the capability of our method in small target tracking tasks, we conducted experiments on the anti-UAV 410 dataset across targets of different scales. The experimental results show that our model achieved leading performance at all scales, with particularly notable advantages in micro and small target tracking.